Do you know this feeling that you're doing a specific behavior day in and day out, and you can't kind of change it, but at the same time you realize that it doesn't serve you well? Then this video is for you. Because what I want to share with you today is how you can come over those behaviors that are just not serving you well. And how I will be doing this is that I will give you an example of my own life, of what I encountered and how I solved it. And hopefully, by me showing you how I did this, you will learn something as well. So let's get started. So the example is something that happened a couple of years ago, and it still takes me a bit of, let's say, bandwidth and time, sometimes even today, where I have to struggle with this, but I got so much better. And the behavior and the example is that whenever I was at lunch and eating, I would get up my iPad or get out my iPad and would start watching videos. And mostly those videos were X Factor auditions. So basically talent show auditions. And I would look at those people that would dance and would sing and so on. And I would imagine myself being at these stages at one point in time. However, instead of doing anything about it, I would just sit there and watch those videos. I would watch and watch and watch. And instead of 30 minutes, it would be an hour, 2 hours, sometimes even 3 hours of watching videos. And what would happen afterwards is that I would blame myself. And I would talk to myself and say, what the hell? Why the hell did you actually watch these? It's so ridiculous. And so I would be really, really mean to myself, blaming myself for watching them. And then throughout the whole day, I would blame myself. And always these thoughts would come up saying, why did you do this? It's so unnecessary. It's not productive. You don't do anything. So in the end, it wouldn't be only those 2 to 3 hours watching videos, but it would also be me blaming myself for watching. So that was a really not healthy behavior whatsoever. And at some point I realized this and I said to myself, I don't want to do this anymore. It's like really not helpful. And so this is the first step. You have to realize that this is a behavior that is not doing you well. And it's not only behavior, it's also the thoughts that you have afterwards, which is also time taken out from the day that is just not beneficial. And in the end, it's also time that you could just do something or do something else that you enjoy more. And so this is the first step. You have to recognize that there is something that is bothering you. And then the second step is that you have to analyze, like, why does it happen? What is the trigger point? So I was more, like really looking at what I would be doing step by step by step. And I realized, okay, the trigger point was eating. So whenever I wanted to eat something, I basically took out the iPad and started watching. So sometimes I even started eating because I wanted to watch those videos. So it was always the eating like the trigger point, and then the iPad. And everything else didn't really matter. But these 2 points and these two elements together were the problem. And so I realized this and I analyzed this. And then afterwards, I brainstormed. And what I did was brainstorming all these different options that I had in my mind that I could do instead of them. Because I already knew it was a behavior that didn't serve me well. So I kind of thought, okay, maybe I can find something that is more enjoyable, that makes me more proud, that makes me more having a spark and more energy coming out of it. So let's think of all the options that came to my mind. And so one of the options was that I said, okay, yeah, maybe I can still watch those videos, but instead of 2 to 3 hours, I just do half an hour and I put a timer. Another idea was, okay, maybe I listen to music instead of watching TV or watching those videos. Another one was to say, maybe instead of just sitting at home eating lunch, I could just go out and have a bit of fresh air and just eat something else. And then the other one was, okay, maybe I just ask friends and I just have lunch with them, or I don't have lunch at all. So there were a lot of different options that I chose from, or not that I chose from, but that I brainstormed. And just by brainstorming them and thinking about all the other things that I could do instead, I was already way more energized and it made so much more fun. So even this exercise already helped me a lot. But then obviously the question is, okay, what then? And the next question was, okay, how do I choose what is best for me? And that was the next step, choosing. And how did I do this is that I went through all these options. So the option, for example, was, okay, I just watch it for 30 minutes and then I put a timer. Well, I tried this a couple of times later, but it didn't really work. And I already knew at that time that it probably wouldn't work because I would keep exactly the same trigger and just do exactly the same thing just for a shorter time and not blaming myself afterwards was the goal. But the problem was that once I started watching it, it became really difficult to stop. And so this was an option at that time where I just said, okay, probably not doing it. And nowadays I do it sometimes, but it became easier because I figured out something else as well to make it, basically control myself a bit better with. But at that time, it was an option that didn't really make sense because it still had the trigger. So I decided not to do it. And then the other option with the music, that's actually an option I chose and said, okay, I want to kind of incorporate this. And then the other option was that with the going out, and I really enjoyed this option. However, with the going out, I felt that I couldn't do this every single day because sometimes when it was winter, it got really cold outside. And at the same time, eating out every single day can be quite expensive. So for me, it was okay. I can't do this every day, but I will do this as often as possible because this really brings me completely out of those trigger points. And there's no iPad there. There is a different environment. It makes it so much easier to not focus on the iPad. So this was something where I deliberately decided, okay, this is something I want to incorporate as often as possible. But I knew that whenever I would not do this, then I would stay at home. So what I did instead is to say, okay, if I would listen to music, I don't do this via the iPad. I do this via my phone, but not the iPad. And the iPad in the morning already just goes into the closet and there it basically stays until the end of the day. And the reason is that in that point, I eliminated the trigger itself. And so what I did was then when choosing, so I said, okay, these are the 3 options that I want to try out to see, like how does it work and how much energy does it give me? And what does it also do with the thoughts that I have in my mind? So there was a choosing. It wasn't like one thing only because I wanted to experiment a bit and also keep it a bit playful because, if you really pressure yourself, then it also probably won't work because again, you will have the thoughts of, okay, I kind of want to do this, but now I pressure myself doing it. So I have the thoughts of me not being able to do this because I pressure myself doing it. So you see, it gets a bit difficult. So that was the reason why I decided, okay, I do these 3 things. And this was a choosing part. And then afterwards came the action part. So this is where I deliberately set goals and saying, okay, for this week now, I want to meet friends like 1 or 2 times a week, and I want to go out like the other 2 days. And what I did was my execution or the, like really actively doing it was that I was calling friends and I said, hey, do you have time for lunch? And I set myself a quite long time for lunch. So I said 1.5 hours because I spent hours watching those videos anyway. So I could just, extend a bit of a longer lunch instead of these only 30 minutes or 1 hour lunch. But I didn't know 1.5 hours. That's fine. I can go somewhere. I have some time. I spent some time with them. So I actively reach out to friends. And then I also chose some restaurants close to my apartment where I know I could go for lunch and I like the food there. So this is what I did as well. So looking for different restaurants where I could easily eat and it wouldn't be too expensive for myself. And then thirdly, as I said, with the music, I already said this, the iPad goes away. And then I would just put in some nice calming music. And so this is what I did. So I deliberately decided, okay, what I want to do, how I want to do this, and make it as easy and simple as possible for me and create new trigger points. So especially for going out, it would always be, okay, lunch, go out, lunch, go out, lunch, go out. Kind of like really ridiculously 1 step, 2 step, 3 step, 4 step. So that's what you can do as well. Always just take these steps. And then, yeah. And then after the execution or the doing it, I would again analyze it and have a look and say, okay, how does it feel? Does it give me joy? Does it allow me, to just feel a spark? Does it feel good? Does it give me joy? Is it better? Does it stop my running thoughts, like blaming myself. And just really being honest with myself, okay, how does it feel and how does it change? And then I kind of, adapted over time and finding different strategies of what works even better, what things I really enjoy. So I really enjoyed this going out. Sometimes it wasn't feasible, so I tried different strategies at home as well. So I just iterated in this whole process. So it wasn't a one-time thing. It wasn't always over and over and over again, until at one point I realized, okay, I almost don't watch these videos at all anymore while having lunch. And I really figured out something else that I would do instead, which most of the time would just be just eating, not anything in between, and anything by the side. This was how I changed this. And I want to add with one additional point, which I think is extremely important. It is about change takes time, and accept that it will take time. So if you start blaming yourself that the change doesn't happen as quickly as you want it to happen, then you won't be successful. Because then you will basically end up in exactly the same circle of blaming yourself for not doing something in the right way. And for that reason, just accept that it takes time, and accept that it won't work the first time, and it won't work the second and the third and the fourth, and that's completely fine. The important thing is that you just stay being aware of it and take the tiniest of tiny step that you can take to make a change. And I can promise you, if you do this and you just take out this whole pressure on yourself, then little by little by little by little, you will change something. And then if you look back just a year or 2 years, you will realize that you really changed and things did get different. And then this will be a very liberating feeling, and just, an amazing feeling if you realize, okay, I'm able to change. That's what I want to leave you with. I hope it helped you and gave you some insights into how you can change your behavior and how you can break out of these circles that are sometimes there in our behavior and our thoughts. And if you like the video, if you have other strategies where you say, oh, these work really well for me, I want to share, and please leave a comment and subscribe to the channel, where I will post and produce more of those videos to help you navigate your life and be creative. So have a great day.